open it first? Oh, it's been too long. We have a couple months. I'd fall asleep and forget what we're doing. Excuse me, Mr. Bush, if you'll just hold on, I apologize. I'm out of order. I'm rolling on myself already. I know, Jack. I'm glad you're here to straighten me out. The first part is the public hearing. I apologize. Is there anybody in the public that wants to speak? Motion to open the public hearing. Thank you very much.
Second.
Call the roll. I went to church council meeting last night. So in church council.
I'm doing that. Crowe?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Wheeler? Yes. Monica?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bartlett? Yes.
All right. Now can we proceed with Mr. Bush? Thank you very much. Mr. Bush, I apologize. If you'll bring the cards up now, I would appreciate it. All right. Now can we proceed with Mr. Bush? Thank you very much. Mr. Bush, I apologize. If you'll bring the cards up now, I would appreciate it.
There's anybody else out there, is there room? Who's in the house?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Bush, do you want to address and tell us what you're asking for, sir?
Well, the area that I want to lease is designed for industrial use, and we're not actually manufacturing anything under the ordinance. I understand we don't qualify, so we had to make a special use application. We'd like to use it for a meeting place for my motorcycle club. There are 11 members in the club, and we'd like to use it for one reason, to get them out of my house. And the other reason is that it would be a place that we could actually start from and end up stopping there on the different activities that are associated with the club. This particular club does a lot of traveling to other places. We do a lot of riding our bikes, and we actually need a place to start from and a place to actually return to. So that would be one of the activities, along with fellowship and general things that motorcycle clubs do, work on bikes, talk about safety, those kind of things.
Okay, and the name of your club is?
Hell's Lovers.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Do you have anybody else that's speaking on your behalf tonight, or just yourself?
No, I'm the president of the club, so I represent the club and all that matters associated with the business of the club.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anybody here that wants to speak up on this subject? If there's anybody else that does not want to speak, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Call roll.
Crowe?
Should we
We'll do questions next, right?
Close the poll.
We're just closing this portion of the public hearing?
This portion, then,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
all right.
It's been a couple months, I understand. I'm in the same boat.
Yes.
Austin?
Yes.
Wheeler? Yes. Monica?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bartlett? Yes. Gonzalez? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bush, if you come back to the podium, the committee, I'm sure, is going to have some questions for you. But the way this is handled for the public is that we go through the public portion first. Once the public's done, then the trustees will ask any questions they have. So we'll start, Mr. Gross, with you.
I just have a couple. What are your anticipated hours of operation at the new facility?
Actually, we have a meeting once a month, and that's at 7 o'clock on Sunday.
Okay.
And anything else is kind of hit or miss.
Okay, and then the 11 members' bikes, they're not going to all be stored at the premises here then?
No, we have no intention of right now storing anything there, as far as motorcycles, or anything with gasoline or anything. And
Okay,
parts, maybe some parts, might be something off with somebody's bike there.
understood. Okay, that's all I have.
Don? Phyllis?
First of all, what does the MC stand for?
Motorcycle club.
Motorcycle? And are you going to handle or hold meetings there with, you know, activities?
You mean, well, the club actually would do, are you familiar with Harley Davidson's Hall group, the Harley's owner group?
Yes.
Any activity that they would probably do, we will probably do it. Events that are associated around bikes, we might have a bike show, or we might have an event that might require us to ride someplace, and we might end up at the clubhouse as a result of it. We do come there sometimes on Saturdays. A lot of times,
You're not gonna be holding riotous
no,
activities there?
no ma'am.
How far away do most of these people come from?
Some of them live in the suburbs, some of them live in the city. Actually, I live in Monee, so for me, I don't get a chance to actually ride, but for a lot of the people that are in the club, part of the fun of having the clubhouse is riding to a destination, so they could always ride to our clubhouse. So I don't have that as an advantage.
How about, how many people are, how many members do you have?
11 members altogether.
How much?
11.
11?
Right.
Oh, that don't sound too threatening. All right, that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Bartlett?
One of the questions I have is, the club activities and events. Are you going to be placing things in reference to alcohol serving, that sort, when you talk about an event, or you like the bike show? I think that's kind of what Phyllis was kind of asking, but I'm going to come straight out and ask.
Okay, well, one of the things that we probably would do is if there was a fight, we haven't been able to have TV in the premises yet because we haven't got permission to actually have it, but at some point we would like to have TV. So we could schedule maybe for a Super Bowl event or something like that where people would actually come. And this is a male riding club. Everybody in the club is 21 or older. I'm 66. So this is not a situation. It's a private club. Only our members are there. It's likely that there would be beer or alcohol on the premises, right?
Sir, you're not, just to clarify, you're not serving the alcohol, they'll be bringing it there.
No, we actually have alcohol that belongs to the membership to our club. So when our club is there, they can drink that alcohol. It's like if you came to my house, you know, I have alcohol there, and we're watching a movie or a fight or whatever, I might give you a drink.
That's all the questions I personally have.
And just by this, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at the dimensions, how big is it in there?
About 20 feet maybe across and maybe about 50 feet long.
This is part of a group of offices, and this is just one of the,
That's what I'm saying, because in the permit, it says something about perhaps like fixing on the maintenance of the bikes. Do you plan on doing that inside?
Well, if what we call maintenance on a bike would be tightening up something, adding on a piece of chrome, that kind of thing. Recently, one of the guys came out and his headlight went out. We had an actual headlight there, so we had to install it. We're not talking about assembling motorcycles there or anything like that. It's,
Maintenance.
yeah, just,
Well, I'm just wondering, like, you don't want to start it inside in like an office space or anything, you don't have.
oh no, we're not gonna run motorcycles inside the building.
Okay.
But there is a big door there that opens up, you know.
Mr. Wallace might be able to clarify some of that, because he's done some checking for us. I'll defer to him if you don't mind, just a second. Might answer some more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, Mr. Bush, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are buildings that are generally intended for what you would call incubator businesses, where you have an office section up front and a garage area in the back. So the back is accessible through a large garage door. The front would have a regular office door up front.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just to kind of give the board an idea of how that's set up out there, that's all.
Okay, well, now it explains the dotted lines, now I understand it.
Sure.
Yeah, there's actually a higher, you can see it like the sunroof on top, it kind of pressed on top, and it's like a lot of the other industrial park. This is an industrial zone building, and it does have access from the back. I was over there a couple times this week and looked at it.
And you said you had 11 members, but when you have meetings and things, would you have occasion to have other chapters visit you, or if you do rallies and things?
Yeah, yeah, there's a possibility that other chapters would be there.
And do you have plans on recruiting more members?
Well, yeah,
It's always a possibility.
it's always a possibility we get more members. We've lost some members.
All right, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
You asked about the additional clubs. The activities, you have any activities that you do in the summertime where everybody's outside having a ball, or just gonna be confined to inside of the building?
Well, that particular location, the area that is the largest area is not air conditioned. So in the summertime, it would be impossible for us to just always be inside. We'd have to open that big door. And I think the thing that makes that particular area ideal is we're the only thing around there. You know, the few times that I've been there, there's never been anybody there. And usually when we decide to be there, even the other people that lease the spaces for business purposes are not even there. So it's pretty isolated.
You're basically not gonna be there during the week,
No.
basically during just the weekends.
Primarily, we schedule one meeting that we had to have on the weekend. During the winter, we're not riding that much, so, you know, it's likely we're not gonna be there as much. But, yeah, during the summer, the riding months, we start in April and we'll ride all the way through the end of October. So it's more likely that we're gonna be there more frequently during those months. During the winter months, it's kinda hit or miss.
Okay. You're talking about repair of the motorcycles. You gonna have any gasoline or oil storage?
No, nothing like that.
You'll bring the gas onto the property if you need it?
No, I don't anticipate gasoline coming on the property unless it's in the motorcycle. You know, there's no need for us, there's no activity that we're gonna do that's gonna require gasoline to be brought there.
All right. All I have.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Mr. Bush, how long has your particular club been in existence?
Well, the original club, we're a part of a bigger club, 40 years, I think,
In your particular chapter?
6 months.
Okay, so you're literally a brand new chapter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are affiliated with Health Lovers MC, the nationwide chapter?
That's correct.
Okay. Does your chapter or does your group have a mission statement or a charter or anything?
We have a charter.
And anything about your charter that you care to share with us in terms of how it's organized?
Not-for-profit, benevolent.
Benevolent meaning you have activities you do that help the community or?
Yeah, we do, in fact, they've already done a toy drive, and I think this week they're gonna be distributing toys.
Okay. One of the things that I remember in doing my research about your organization is that you were the first integrated organization by club, which speaks highly of your membership and some of the things that you do. As you grow, my concern would be, and my question for you would be, there are clubs in Hell's Lovers MC that have some very disreputable reputations. In particular, in January of this year, there were 19 members arrested in Denver, Colorado for various charges. Obviously, that's them and you're different, but how do you handle those type of situations, specifically illegal activities that might be the type of activities we wouldn't want in our community?
Well, I think like any other organization, we're not a criminal organization, but there's a
Right.
possibility that somebody may do something that they're arrested for and later designated as a criminal. We don't go through background checks to find out, you know, whether or not a member is a criminal. We do have a period of time that they're on probation, trying to get in the club, and we can then sort of evaluate what type of person they are. We don't have any drugs that we're aware of on the premises. In fact, our guidelines, our national guidelines are to not have any drugs anywhere. We don't want to bring any negative visibility onto the organization based on that, but I'm aware of what happened in Colorado, you know.
Sure, okay. Mr. Wallace, do you have anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss. Amy?
What is your membership? What do you think your membership is going to grow to?
We anticipate maybe 4 more members coming on.
And that's why your wife moved you out of the basement?
The noise, I think,
Okay. Mr. Wallace, do you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I do. I've had occasion to have several conversations with Mr. Bush, and I just want to clarify a few things. Earlier in the statements today, you had indicated that you're not going to store any motorcycles there. However, in the application, it indicates to store records and to store work, maintain bikes and equipment. And I understand the application was some time ago. We received that on November the 5th, so, you know, some things could change. I just want to clarify for the record that the intent is not to store the motorcycles there, is that correct?
that's correct.
And then with the hours of operation, I understand you did give, at least for your monthly meeting at 7 p.m., I would presume, on Sundays, is that right?
That's correct.
Very good. And I'm more concerned with hours of operation should you have an event. Is there a time frame that we could say, you know, generally your things take place on the weekend and probably wouldn't be, you know, would normally take place between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m.?
If we had something at nighttime, probably people wouldn't show up there till around 9 or 10 o'clock. They probably wouldn't leave till 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's about a 6-hour period that they would actually be there.
And how often would you anticipate that?
Be hard to say. I don't think it's gonna be every night, but it might be a couple of times out of the month, something like that would happen, in addition to our regular meeting. Possibility we may have to have an emergency meeting for something with planning, those types of activities. Pretty much we've been out of there because we haven't been able to officially be in there. So it's been very inconvenient for us to even be over there at all, but we'd like to not be restricted. I think we've been there now actually about 5 or 6 months, and we haven't really been able to use the facility when we wanted to go in there. It's kind of like under the radar going in to do legitimate things. I've had to go there to get the gas turned on, to get the electricity cut on, even though we can't use it, so.
Okay, yeah, I think where I'm driving with this is that this is specifically a special use, and as we are here in this meeting, and we're trying to establish exactly the parameters of that use. I think it's important that the municipality understand and have a level of expectation on what the club is going to, how they're going to utilize the facility there. And likewise, you would like, I'm sure, to have a level of comfort and understanding on how the village is going to react to that. And if we establish that here, there's less room for misinterpretation at a later date. And I'm speaking a little bit from experience. I believe that early on you had already had one function there, and the village was actually totally caught by surprise and basically closed down virtually Industrial Drive all the way back to that location. However, it was on a weekend, okay, and you had there were some individuals from the club, or we presume it was from the club out front, trying to assist with traffic control, I would guess. But those are the types of things that we're probably looking to get a handle on here, so that we do have a fair level of expectation and the opportunity of law enforcement. And as you will hear closer to the end of this, there are standards for issuance of this special use. It applies to every special use that comes before this board. I believe the attorney will be reading that in for the record, but our intended use overall with the zoning district is that zoning district be able to flourish in its intended use as a, light industrial or heavy industrial zoning district. And Mr. Chairman, if I might, I would just like to make it known for the record that this is a hearing for a special use. It should be noted that the applicant will need to comply with applicable building codes as adopted by the Village of Monee and the Monee Fire Protection District with regards to change in building use. If you change the intended use of a facility, the building department, they dictate, they don't dictate that, but they interpret that. What is the use? There are certain codes that go along with different uses. It all has to do with life safety issues. And it should be noted that the applicant will need to provide a signed and sealed architectural plans to the Village of Monee and the Monee Fire Protection District for review. No occupancy permit or license issued until the building code compliance is achieved. And I think that my other concern there was exterior use of the property with regards to outdoor gatherings. I think you touched on that earlier in this. And from my perspective, it's all about going into it with eyes wide open and a clear understanding so we can achieve the end results as quickly and smoothly as possible.
Well, I'd like to make one other comment about what type of vehicles will be on the premises. Our club requires us to ride motorcycles. This is not a car club, so any event that you can ride a motorcycle to, you're expected to do that. So as far as blocking traffic all the way from 50 back to I-57, unless somebody came in the car, which is not very likely with us, there wouldn't be any car traffic at all. And most of the motorcycles, one of the things that I think if you're familiar with motorcycles, one of the things that people do that have motorcycles is they talk about their motorcycles. So a lot of the activity is around, this is what I did to my bike, this is how it runs, I added this piece of chrome on it, this thing doesn't work. It's that type of activity. That's a lot of the socializing that takes place with motorcycle clubs. So some of the activity is inside of a structure. A lot of the activity is standing around your motorcycle, talking about your motorcycle. So during the months that we ride, when the weather is good, a lot of that activity probably is going to be outside in the asphalt area around the back of the building. So one of the reasons that that location was ideal for us is because there are no other residents around that area. There's nothing actually going on there, and there is a certain noise level because of I-57. So for us, we consider it to be the least intrusive, structure in the area. I did actually go through Monee, through the community, to try to figure out where else could something like this actually be in the village. And I live in the village too, so I actually would not want it down the main drag next to docks or someplace like that. I don't think I would like to have that activity there. But as far as this particular location, I think it's probably ideal. It's isolated. There's nobody really back there. There's no noise level that we could create that would actually offend anybody. So this is one of the reasons we picked it. It actually has a small area that's grassed that also is an area that in the event that we did have something and it was warm outside, we might decide to set a table outside and sit outside. So those are the kind of things that we probably would be doing over there. And one other thing about the hours, all of the guys that are in my club that pay dues will have a key to that building. So it's not going to be just me going there and open the door. If they decide they wanted to go there for some reason, we have a pool table in there, and we have a TV. It just is all we can do in there now is watch DVDs. But in the event that somebody in the club was to decide that they wanted to go there, whether or not it was an activity or a meeting or whatever, it's likely that they could go there because they have a key. I've had to go there myself several times for different reasons, So
Mr. Bush, the lease is in whose name?
it's in my name.
Mr. Waltz?
Yes, so that is not lead us to believe that any overnight stays would be taking place there.
No.
None.
Nobody lives there, nobody is planning to live there, no intention of staying overnight.
Anything else, Mr. Wallace? Mr. Tobel, do you have any questions as well?
Yes, I do. Just a couple, sir. Mayor Dan Tobel, my pleasure to meet you. Mr. Bush, there is a location out there where residents of Aunt Martha's, probably within 100 feet of your location. I just wanted you to be aware of that. And I need to have a couple answers from you, and then I'm going to give you a couple opinions of mine.
Okay.
How long does it take for your prospects to be fully patched?
2 years.
2 years. Thank you on that. How long is your lease with your landlord?
We don't have a lease,
Okay.
but I'm anticipating probably yearly.
Mr. Wallace made you a little concerned, and I got to follow up on this because I was out there that evening, and you folks were out there, and it seemed to be a pretty good time. And there was a 4x6 sign nailed on the post at I-50 and in Industrial Drive, which you probably don't know that you can't do, but it was taken down. And I'm just a little concerned because I've been on bike clubs my whole life. And they do like quiet places for other reasons than maybe you're saying, and I'm not saying it's necessarily what you're looking for. But it's a concern to our community because we've never had to address this issue now, you know. So I just want to let you know there is residents living back there, or young people. It's like a halfway house. And it's probably, you're probably aware of the building next door to yours that was going east. There was, can't think of the name of the place right now. They sold different furnitures out of there. And then right next there is Aunt Mark.
I'm aware of that.
So that's something you also have to keep in mind if you plan on being out there having a hootenanny going on at 2 in the morning. Those are young kids in there. I think this is all I have right now, sir. We'll have further conversation in there on this side. Appreciate it.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm aware of the issue with the sign, and we paid a $100 fine because of that. And it was a probate that actually did that. That sign was actually on the ground. I'm aware of the ordinance, and you cannot attach anything to one of these posts, but apparently he was not. And when I discovered it, it was too late. So
It was underground. What is it?
it means that actually was it wasn't really supposed to be a sign. It was actually something that was left over for something. It was like an overspray onto a board. And he thought it was a smart idea to take it down there, so he took it down there and attached it to a post. It was actually just laying on the ground outside of the facility, and when I became aware of it, it was too late. It was already attached to the post.
Thank you, sir.
Well, village attorney, do you have any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. Bush, thank you for being patient with us. I want to point out to you that I hope you have Harleys.
Yes.
Good, because my company provides all the tires for the Harley facility in Kansas City, so I know it very well. Anybody have any additional questions? If not, I'll entertain a favorable motion.
Sir,
Yes?
I apologize. If the board, can I read something into the record?
Yes, sir.
Based on special use permits, if the board deems it so appropriate, we are supposed to indicate in the record under 1129 subsection B that no special use permit shall be granted unless there is an establishment that it will not be detrimental to or endanger the public's health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. And number 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity. Number 3, the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development of the surrounding property. Number 4, adequate utilities and drainage. Number 5, measures will be taken or have been taken to provide ingress and egress, so designed to minimize traffic congestion. And number 6, the special use in all respects shall conform to the other regulations set forth herein. And then the board has the right to, the zoning board, to submit a written recommendation to the board, to the full board within 60 days. But the record should reflect those are the requirements for a special use
So noted, thank you very much. Is there a motion to accept, make a favorable recommendation?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Olson?
Yes?
Nealon?
No.
Nomkus?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bartlett? Gonzalez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr.
Gross.
Bush?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You stopped. I apologize. Mr. Bush, this motion now will go before the village trustees. The meeting will be held,
January
Second.
9th, I believe, January
January
9th.
9th, I believe, yeah, January 9th. They postponed the next meeting, so the next meeting will be January 9th. If you want to attend that meeting, you certainly are free to do that. That meeting will also be at 6:30 in the same building. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing on special use variance submitted by KJT Properties LLC for the property. I'm entertain a motion to open up that. Sherry?
I make that motion. Second.
Call roll, please.
Nealon? Nomkus?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Gross?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes. Yes, sir? Mr. Wallace would like to give an overview before we hear from anybody.
Yes, thank you, and the only reason is this is quite lengthy. This public hearing will encompass requests for special use as well as requests for variances for this project. Special use, as the applicant indicates, application indicates, is simply to allow a drive-in / drive-through restaurant in the C1 zoning. That's a requirement under the ordinance 11-8A-2B. And then the major portion contained in this packet, each of the applications here for special use and for variance also have an authorization signed off by Red Orange Properties, as that is the current owner of the property. It is under contract with the applicant. And for the application for variance, there are several that are in there. I don't know that I'll read them all at this time, but you have also attached several different exhibits. Again, a property or an authorization letter from Red Orange Property. You should have a plat of survey, plat of dedication, and then you'll have a site plan and some elevation pictures in there, diagrams as well. So that's all I have, just to kind of set the tone for.
Thank you very much.
Forward with that, sir.
Is there somebody here to speak on behalf of property?
Yes, sir. We have a representative of KJT Properties, Katie Smith, as well as Chris McGuire, who handles the construction and design and things of that nature. So I'll ask them to step forward and. Yeah.
You have green cards?
We should have those cards, absolutely, sir.
Yeah, we had a motion over already.
Yes.
I did this one.
It's a long vacation,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm Katie Smith. Along with my folks, we own and operate the Culver's Restaurant in Bourbon and Crete, and they're looking to open here in Monee. Like I said, this is Chris McGuire. He built our Crete restaurant, looking to have him build the Monee one as well. We're really excited to be coming to the community.
Good evening. My name is Chris McGuire, and thanks for your time this evening. I want to commend the staff. Mr. Wallace has been a great pleasure to work through this process with. We travel quite a bit, work in 19 states, and it is a pleasure to work in the Midwest, working with people of the community who want to see new development. Some basic background. The Culver's restaurant that's being proposed is the same as the Culver's of Crete. For those of you that haven't been there, the facility's just short of 4,000 square feet. It seats 89 persons, and the patio space is approximately 23 feet by 39 feet. We'll have a small sitting area with some accent lights on it. Building materials are a combination of stone and ephes, and I have some site drawings and some building elevations to show you. Site development notes, there are 64 parking spaces plus 3 accessible parking spaces for a total of 67. There are 7 cars in the drive-through order queue, 3 order waiting spots beyond the building. Culver's is a made-to-order product, so that if you go through the drive-through, unless you're ordering a drink or a custard treat, you're going to be we're going to make your meal fresh for you, and then the runners will bring it out to you. And there'll be a heavy emphasis on landscaping and the green spaces. The owners have taken great pride in that. I'm sorry, I don't know flowers, but you have flowers alongside your stores. What are they called?
We have a variety. Our favorite are the zinnias at Crete. If you've been over there, that's what's surrounding the patio.
Mr. Wallace, would you like me to read through the basics of the special use request was for the drive-through restaurant? That's the one specific. And would you want me to go through the variances, or how would you like to proceed on this?
You know, Mr. Chairman, it's actually up to you if you'd like to take them one at a time or collectively. Certainly the special use can be, I would think you would want to take some action on the special use, or at least note it. I might defer to the attorney for
I'll
the
defer to
advice
the
there.
attorney for that.
I would probably make a presentation, sir, for the special use permit, and we'll take that into consideration under variances, and we can take that into consideration during that time.
Okay. It is common that I see special use permits requested for drive-throughs. As I had stated earlier, the Culver's is a made-to-order product. Approximately, system average is about 40% on drive-through business, whereas you'll find some of the competitors will be upwards of 75% drive-through business. So because it's made-to-order, it takes a little bit more time. Target is 4 to 5 minutes for your meal to be prepared. And many of the people, especially along the interstate locations, you'll find that will want to come in and sit down. So I do not know if we'll see the 40% in this location, but that is the request for drive-through. I have an easel, I have everything else for this, but I think perhaps if I just flip to the pages and show you what we're looking at. Do you all have site plans? Okay. Details of that is that we're going to share a driveway with the Best Western and Super 8. Our access will not be directly onto Monee Manhattan Road. We are hoping to work out an agreement with the neighbor to the west to do a common driveway so we can share the traffic internally without going back on the road. I should point out perhaps that there's a dedication of 25 feet to the north side of this property to the county, and that's part of the intention is to work with the county, work with the city to meet the future desires.
Future what, I'm sorry?
Future desires, as my understanding is that the road is possibly going to be widened into the future? Is that correct?
Yes, and so that we don't get into a mixture of the special use versus the variances. The special use comes before this board simply because to identify it as a drive-through facility, and it does meet the requirements for the 10-car stacking because they have 7 in queue and then 3 waiting for the delivery. So the 10-car stacking required by ordinance is achieved there. And Attorney Krachewski, I would defer. I don't know that there's anything additional on the special use at this point. He may actually get into the variances as I see the elevation.
Okay. So why don't we? Go ahead.
As long as we have the same standards that we talked about before under the special use permit, then we can start with the variances.
Well, okay, so do you want to, it is now the time for them to, for the board to make a motion regarding special
No,
use?
this is public hearing, we need to open things, but ask the public those questions. Okay.
7 o'clock, fine.
So if, at this point, let's stop we're still talking special use permit. Does anybody else in the public have any questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to, So opposed?
It's the same hearing.
Same hearing, okay, that's fine. Then we'll go ahead with the variance portion of it. If you'd like to explain that too?
And Mr. Chairman, prior to getting into the variances, if I could give an overall explanation of the property. The property that exists there is just a little over an acre, and it's unique because it is restricted on all sides. It's also unique because it provides no access directly onto Monee Manhattan Road. In conversations with the Will County Highway Department, they will not allow access directly onto Monee Manhattan Road. Therefore, as Mr. McGuire indicated, they do share an access with the Super 8 and the Best Western motels there. As we move forward, or as they move forward in the development, taken into consideration is an additional 25 feet of right-of-way that at some point Will County Highway Department is going to require. We learned that on an earlier project all along Monee Manhattan Road. In doing so, that creates some additional hardship for that lot because it shrinks their size down to just about an acre, right at 1 acre. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these calculations, but so with that in mind, knowing that of what Will County is required, that's why in your packet you see a plat of dedication. That plat of dedication is actually going to be to the Will County Highway Department. It's actually an additional 25 feet wide or deep and the width of the property there. So that creates some other restrictions on the property that led to a couple of the variances that are before you this evening. So I just wanted to set that tone on why we're in here requesting, or why they're in here requesting variances and how those came to be in dealing with the county and things of that nature. So at this point, I would suggest that we just go through the list of variances that you have, and you can show your articles there.
Okay. To cite off each of the variances, we're requesting to allow for less than the required number of parking spaces. We do have 64 parking spaces plus 3 accessible. Culver's minimum standard is in the target of 45, with 50 being desired. To respond to the reason for the request is that there's simply not enough land, especially as we are proposing to dedicate some of it to the county.
And if I might,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, with regards to the parking spaces, this has come up previously. I believe that our code may have, and I mentioned it at the time, but it may have under Class 10 for fast food or drive-in restaurants, it may have a misprint. I have gone through ordinances, past ordinances, trying to find that if it were or not, but it is, in comparison with some other communities, somewhat overly restrictive. So I just wanted to make that note here because that is the same premise that the variance has been granted previously when it comes to the parking requirements, but nevertheless, they have provided the handicap accessible parking along with sufficient parking for their restaurant facility. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. The second one is to the request to allow for the parking in the front yard and in the required 10-foot buffer. The buffer speaks for itself when we were talking about the 25-foot dedication earlier. And I, please add, if there are any questions, please ask. I don't want to belabor anything or use up any of your valuable time. The third one is to allow for the building mounted signs not facing the dedicated right-of-way. Our request would be to put signage over the main entrance, helps identify where people are to go into the building. And the other one is over the drive-through area, and it simply helps it look finished. The last one is to allow, there are 2 points on the freestanding sign. One is to allow for a freestanding sign up to 30 feet in height, and to allow for that 135 square feet of sign face on the freestanding sign. I believe it's 32 square feet is allowable which is relatively small when you're looking at signage in that specific area. These variances are necessary for us to meet the Culver corporate requirements for a Culver franchising restaurant to operate. With respect to the lot, to meet the parking requirements, it's not large enough to meet all the requirements if the code is strictly applied. And the lot is landlocked with no room for expansion and the required right-of-way dedication to the Will County Highway Department is necessitating some of these requests. The entire area is Zone C1 with like uses already in existence. We hope that you will allow us these variances.
Is this similar to the Culvers in Michigan City then, in terms of the parking lot? Are you aware of that one?
I'm aware of that one.
Because it doesn't have Main Street access.
In terms of flown operations, not exactly the same as Michigan City. Larry and Mary Fisher own that property, and their parking is, as you come in off, it's not entirely different. You have the basic flown operations. We need the cars to line up in queue, have a nice flow through the parking lot safely, and good ingress and egress from the property, which this provides very nice flow and very nice stacking distance to be able to get on and off of the highway.
Okay, I apologize for asking the question, actually. I probably should have asked it in a few minutes. Let me ask if anybody else in the public has any other questions before we close the public hearing. If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make that motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Marcus,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Alston,
Yes.
Nealon.
Yes.
Okay, and at this point, we'll allow questions from the group. I'll start with Mr. Weaver this time.
No questions.
Okay. Gonzalez?
Ms. Smith, you said this is going to be identical to the one in Crete, or is this like smaller in size? Like the
It'll
square
be
footage?
just about identical to the one in Crete in terms of square footage.
Square foot and like the layout is exactly the same too?
Yes.
Verify you're talking the inside of the store itself,
Inside
not
of
the
the store
layout.
itself.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I know there's more, but.
Ms. Bartlett?
I don't have any questions.
None.
John? Ed?
Can you give me a feel for the average time spent when one is dining in at a Culver? A grab number?
I'm going to say somewhere in the category of 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay, I was just trying to get that into the parking as far as the queuing and all that stuff. That's all I had.
I just do have a comment if anybody's done asking questions.
Sure.
And I know I'm probably against the public opinion here. First of all, thank you for having Culvers and wanting to come to Monee and opening another business here. But I have to say it out loud that we already have a McDonald's, a Burger King, and Shoop's, which is also a family franchise and one of our founding businesses along Monee Manhattan Road. And as much as I do love Culver's, I really don't think that this town can use a fourth hamburger place. So I do certainly appreciate you guys coming and wanting to purchase land here too. But I, as part of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as part of our charges, are charged to find the best use possible of every piece of land possible in this town. And I don't believe this is it. So please take that with a grain of salt.
Thank you. Mr. Wallace, do you have anything you want
I don't think so. Thank you.
to add? Mr. Tovo?
Nothing else, sir.
Nothing? Okay. All right, entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
What? What did I do on this?
We have to do separate, right? We have to do separate.
You want to do both separate?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the special use. And send a favorable recommendation to the trustee. Phyllis, did you
I
recommend?
make that motion.
And the second was?
John.
Thank you. I apologize.
Okay. Weaver,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
No.
Gross,
Yes.
Alston,
Yes.
Nealon,
Yes.
Namekis.
Yes.
Thank you. I entertain a motion now to face send a favorable recommendation for the variances. Can we do all of those in one? Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gonzalez.
No.
Gross.
Yes.
Halston.
Yes.
Nealon.
Yes.
Namekis. Weaver. Weaver.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Again, the next regular scheduled meeting of the village trustees will be January 9th. If you'd like to plan on attending, that would be fine. This will be sent to the trustees for their action on January 9th.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Have a very good evening.
Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the Village of Monee map amendment for the property located approximately 25516 Egyptian Trail. Entertain a motion to open up the hearing, public hearing. Entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
I make that motion.
Okay, just a second, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Halston.
Yes.
Nealon.
Yes.
Namekis.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak to that?
Yes, there is, sir.
Thank you.
I'm here.
You have the green cards?
I do have the green cards. I will tender those to the clerk. On behalf of the Village of Monee, I am here to seek a map amendment. And that map amendment actually should be for 3.9389 acres, which is located at approximately 25516 Egyptian Trail. Currently, that zoning, there is M1 zoning, and we seek to change that, have that zoning changed to C1, which is commercial zoning. It does abut current commercial zoning, which is directly across the street, and that would be to the west, across Egyptian Trail. So we're not creating spot zoning at all. And it also abuts the commercial zoning at the southeast corner of Egyptian Trail and Monee Manhattan Road. Sign, or the property's been duly posted with a sign, and all of these have been advertised as required by law in the newspaper. So at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments from the public? Not, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make that motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Halston.
Yes?
Nealon.
Yes.
Namekis.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Okay, entertain questions, starting with Mr. Gross.
Just one quick one, the proposed use of the property?
At this point, the proposed use is a commercial development. We have nothing, the municipality has nothing specifically
Okay, so
cited at this point.
nothing's in the queue or anything?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you. John? Phyllis?
No.
Sheila?
Nothing.
Heidi?
And I guess this is just for my own ignorance, because even with my cheaters, I couldn't read this.
Would you like a larger one?
I just asked what it says.
Yes, it's
With,
actually,
Is it
that's just the,
leaf and things?
Ms. Gonzalez, that's just a plat that is depicting the 3.8 something acres that we're requesting to be changed from M1 zoning to the C1 zoning. That's all. And I do have a larger one here.
Makes you feel better after the read it.
Make her read it from there.
Here, what about my glasses?
And a big one.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. And just please note that this portion right here is accepted, so that means it's not included. This is what we're speaking of here, and it has a little horn that comes around the that side as well, okay?
Yeah.
Just the property lines, the poles.
Okay. Anything else, Betty?
No.
Mr. Weaver?
No.
Mr. Wallace, anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing? If not, I'll entertain a favorable motion to recommend to the next.
I'll second that.
Second.
Yeah.
Call the roll, please. Spade, call the roll.
Nealon,
Yes.
Namekis,
Yes.
Weaver,
Weaver.
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Paulson.
Yes. Okay, at this particular time, if I'm correct, we open to the public. Any comments from the public on anything? Are there any comments? Old business? Under old business, I just want to comment that I know we had talked about having a training session. This has been a relatively long meeting, so it's probably not a good idea to do that. I also note that 5 of the 6 current members have expired terms. That issue needs to be addressed by the village. I'll be addressing that with the mayor and the village trustees shortly so that we can be able to make a decision and go forward. I hate to have a lot of training for people if you're not going to be here, or if we have new people, we want to make sure we would include it in there. So if you'll forgive me for not putting that into this week, I just didn't think it was a good time to do it. Anything else under new business? I see a plat of subdivision review.
Mr. Chairman, under old business, if I might, just as a friendly reminder that I believe that all members on this board are required to go through the Open Meetings Act training, and that can be done online, and if you would do that, and once you complete that, you will receive a certificate. You can print that out. That needs to be tendered to the municipal clerk so that we can keep that on file. We're getting down to the deadline. I believe everyone received a notice of this back in October. We're getting down to the deadline. January 1 is the deadline, so we would appreciate.
Now, that was in your mailboxes. We've discussed that at every meeting.
Yeah.
It is required to be done by the 2nd of January. If you don't have it or have not done it, please see the village clerk or the clerk here, or see me. We can help you with it. Doesn't take long, but it is required. Thank you. Anything else under old business? Under new business, I see a note here, plat of subdivision review. Mr. Wallace?
Yes, sir. There's not an application for this. It's, if you take a look,
I didn't see anything.
and give me one more.
It's on the back of the Village of Monee thing,
Yeah.
the next page.
Okay, so if you take a look at the very last page on the village's request for a map amendment, on the very last page, you will see at the very top, it's called Egyptian Trail Subdivision.
Got it.
And that's what we will be speaking to right now. And ultimately, what I am looking for, or what the village is seeking, is the establishment of a subdivision. And if you have the, you're going to ask, so.
It's upside down, baby doll.
Yeah, that's
There we
right.
go. There.
Your eyes aren't that bad.
So basically what we have is the municipality was fortunate enough to assemble 2 parcels of property, one of which you just approved a recommendation for a map amendment change. And we would like to combine those 2 parcels into 1 parcel. And in order to do that, it has to be done in subdivision form. that subdivision is now made up of 2 parcels for a total area of 5 acres. And what I would be asking for is Mr. Chairman, that you ask and hopefully receive permission to sign the subdivision plat so that we can further that for recordation purposes. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the subdivision.
Are both of those currently C now with this new change we just made?
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions from anybody else at this point? So that'll be forthcoming?
What's that?
This will be forthcoming then?
Yes, sir. If you, the motion really should be Attorney Grzeszewski to authorize the chairman to sign the plat of subdivision. Very good. Okay, and if you are granted that, then I have it here for you. So
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
For a second? Any discussion? Call the roll.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Halston,
Yes.
Nealon,
Yes.
Namekis.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. After a couple of months, we're a little rusty tonight. Any other new business tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion. Second.
Call the roll.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Halston,
Yes.
Nealon,
Yes.
Namekis.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes. And with that, we are adjourned.